Here's what's even more fascinating about your story. Your dad has like a bachelor's in computer science, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. So he went
and a master's.
Yeah, and a PhD.
And a PhD. So your dad has a terminal degree. He's been educated to the nth degree. And you came to him one day. I want to hear the story. You came to him one day and was like, you know what, Dad? I don't think this college thing is for me.
Well, he actually came to me and said that school is a waste of time.
What?
Going to college is like burning money.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he came to you.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Welcome to The Technical Creative. I am your host, Dr. Nehemiah Mabry. This is a show produced by STEMedia for professional development and workforce development in both the technical and creative spaces. Today, my guest is Caleb Smith. Listen, if you all want to hear why he chose a different route, not going to college after high school, his vision for the future of esports, and why some parents might not want to tell their kids to stop playing video games, stay tuned right here on The Technical Creative. Caleb, what's up, man?
What's going on?
All right, cool. Now, listen, for people out there, this is a new setup. You're new to us with the table, but shout out to Joe. Shout out to Joe for giving us a new look today. How you feeling, man?
Hey, I'm feeling awesome.
You feeling awesome?
Oh, yeah.
I'm awesome. I'm feeling awesome, too. I'm awesome. I'm feeling awesome. You're awesome. You're feeling awesome. Let me ask you a question, though. We're going to get right to it. $1.4 billion. That was the size of the esports industry, I think, for 2022. $1.4 billion. So my question for you out of the gate is, how much of that is in your bank account?
Nowhere near 1.4 billion. Let's take off. If we take off 3 zeros, that'll be 1.4 million. So yeah, we have to take off another zero from there.
You gotta take out a couple of zeros.
Yeah, think about 4 zeros. Yeah, we have to go, very, very low. Yeah.
Got you. Well, man, listen, for folks who don't know, you are one of the authorities, I think, of automatically here in this local area when it comes to esports. And I just can't wait for the audience to get to know you. You're an entrepreneur. You are a community activist in many ways. Why don't you tell the people, just in a nutshell, what would be your bio explanation of who Caleb Smith is?
Yeah, awesome. So I grew up here. I'm a native of the Triangle, so one of the few people that grew up here still live here.
Durham,
that's right.
Bull City.
I grew up in Durham, and growing up, I played a lot of sports and video games, so typical. And then, soccer was my favorite. I went with that. After graduating high school, I went overseas and played professional soccer in Germany.
Yeah.
And then, upon the return here, it's like there's really something that, I was looking for, something I wanted to do. And then I came across the esports opportunity. I was like, oh, this looks awesome.
You saw those zeros.
So, yeah. Well, not necessarily zeros. I mean, I would have done it anyways because it was something I was really passionate about. And I saw how it was exploding. But, and then we started that, made lots of pivots. COVID really changed up the industry. It affected it. At first, COVID really helped the esports industry.
Right.
Everyone was at home. There was no sports going on. So, and even at the time, Vegas temporarily allowed sports betting for esports because there was no sports.
No live sports happening. Yeah, physical. Yes. Yeah. Well, let me ask you, man. You spent by a lot, right? Like, if that went into your social bio, that would be a long bio. But let me ask you this right off the gate. Going back, you said you came out of high school and you went to overseas to play soccer, Germany, right? That's where you went. All right. Listen, man. This is a non-traditional path for sure. And, we have a lot of guests on this field who are like, I went to this university, that university. You went to Germany. You went to basically go to the league, right? What went into that decision for you to go into soccer after high school?
So, I really didn't want to go to college. I just saw it. I didn't understand too much. First of all, I wasn't aware because everyone's like, oh, study something you're interested in. I'm like, there's nothing I'm interested in because all we hear about, all the guest speakers, I went to Woods Charter High School for 2 years. I did online homeschool, but all the guest speakers that he's brought in to talk about the careers, it was all what they wanted you to focus on. It was like, something around science or engineer, maybe like, a teacher or doctor, it was very few career paths. They said like cybersecurity. I would love to do that. But they never mentioned that was a career path. And then I even think with trades as well, because I was doing a career fair at Chapel Hill, and then these people talk about it's like a 1-year apprenticeship for wastewater, $23.60 an hour. So this guy electricity said, we start $18 an hour. We pay for your schooling. He said, you just go every other weekend and you work during the week. He said, at the end of the 4 years, you're making $30 an hour. And then you're going to be making minimum that or more.
This is what they were pitching you in high school.
So they weren't pitching me that. That's what they were
saying.
And back at school, they was like, go to college, you get a job, make a lot of money. I was like, but y'all went to college, y'all don't make
this is not a lot of money. Right.
So he's like, that's what I was wondering. I was just like, but so many people have college degrees, a lot of them can't find jobs. And it's like, to me, it just didn't really make, a whole lot of sense. And so I was like, okay, this is not the path I want to go. So I'm going to try something else out. And I was like, you can always go to school. I could go now. I'm not going to, but I could go now.
Right.
You know,
I'll come back. So, I can come back if I need to.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can go to school, you know, at any time. You know, I know plenty of people say, oh, yeah, I took, you know, night classes or, you know, took just a couple classes. They may take them like, you know, 6-10 years. Basically, and eventually they got a degree. But, you know, even at this point, I mean, I run my own business. You know, people, they ask me why I went to school, but no one cares about the degree. They really care about what can you provide, what service can you offer.
But, you know, but here's the thing. Like, you're saying this as a person who has now started a company. You've had a measure of success. But at 18, 17, like, that's a different thought. Here's what's even more fascinating about your story. Your dad has like a bachelor's in computer science, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. So he went
and a master's.
Yeah, and a PhD.
And a PhD. So your dad has a terminal degree. He's been educated to the nth degree. And you came to him one day. I want to hear the story. You came to him one day and was like, you know what, Dad? I don't think this college thing is for me.
Well, he actually came to me and said that school is a waste of time.
What?
Going to college is like burning money.
Wow. Yeah. So he came to you.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Well, so with him, he went to the Naval Academy, you know, which is, well, technically they actually got paid, you know, to go there because of the service. And then he had to do his 5 years. But while he was in service, you know, he actually had like before he started his job, he had like a 6-month break. So someone was also like, hey, let's go get a master's. Like, okay.
So he just,
and then also, I think they paid for like 75% of it, he said. And plus, it wasn't near as much as, you know, what it is nowadays because we're talking about back in the 90s.
Okay.
And so then he was like, she's like, shoot, what they're, you know, paying for it. So he said, you might as well go in and do that. So really, he got all, you know, those degrees and everything for significantly less money than, you know, what most people actually would pay for it. Right. So his case, you know, was a little bit different, but I know a lot of people, I mean, nowadays, if people get a PhD without like the actual, you know, any financial assistance, I mean, we're looking at, well, I mean, 150,000 on the low end, you know, you'd be pushing 300, 400,000, you know, with that and with all the student loans. So
he was smart. He was wise enough. He had the insight to say, not only did he realize that it would have been expensive, but he saw what was in you. He saw that, like, because people say, and I even say, college is not for everybody. Like, right? There are benefits, but it's not for everybody. But he saw that for you, like, hey, Caleb, you probably do have a better route to take here, but not going to college.
Yeah.
And that,
Yeah, and I even know, like, my sister, she went to the Citadel. She went on full ride for volleyball. And her and one of her teammates, they were talking and stuff. They said, yeah, school just seems so useless and not important.
Wow.
And everything. My dad was like, well, yeah, he said, but I mean, you guys aren't paying anything for it. And so he said, if you ever did decide you want to come back in the future, you know, you would have to pay. So he's like, just stay in it, you know, and just see what you have. So, but I mean, my thing is that when I talk to people, you know, about college like this, like, really, why do you want to go? Some of them it's just like, oh, you're supposed to go to college, and others it can be, oh, they have no idea. And then, I mean, my thing is, you know, what I'm really, you know, passionate about people is that if you actually come out, you know, with $100,000 of debt, you're handcuffed into certain positions. Like people, you know, they're saying that, you know, they got 3% interest rate on their homes. They said now they're handcuffed because they said they want to move and stuff, but every deal seems awful.
They still got to pay that back,
that they have. So, you know, I mean, you have to weigh the pros and cons with everything.
Yeah.
My thing is like, you know, that trade school type of route, you know, where they pay, you know, pretty much they give you a job and they pay for your college, you know, be able to go on that.
Right.
I think those are great routes. You know, my thing that I recommend to people is when you graduate, I said, if you don't know what you want to do, something, I said, just work a bunch of jobs, talk to people in a lot of different industries.
Taste and see.
Yeah, do like maybe, you know, work for free and to see if you like something or not. And then, you know, say, okay, this is actually like, if you're interested, become an electrician or, you know, whatever it might be. Now, some things, it's like, if you want to be in the medical field, like if you're truly passionate about that and want to be in the medical field, then, I mean, there's really no way around, you know, not going to college for that. But I see a lot of people jumping into careers simply because they think, you know, they pay a lot of money.
Right.
When it's like, you know, I know one person went to NC State engineering. He came out making $70,000, which isn't bad. But I'm like, yeah, but these electricians who are out here, they come out making $60,000. I said, and they didn't pay anything for college.
So check that out.
And they got paid the whole time that they were studying.
So here's the thing. I got it. We getting there, right? So here's why I think this is a great conversation because of the fact that there are some degrees where if you just look at it from an investment standpoint, spending 6 figures or so to go into debt for a degree that isn't going to return for you or doesn't even have a ceiling to return for you isn't a wise investment, period, even if you're just looking at it from a stock investment standpoint. But then to your other point, like there are certain fields, medical field, there's certain levels of education, even in the STEM fields, where it's like, hey, this degree or these certifications or this type of training may be necessary. But what I have to ask you, though, so we won't get too far ahead is, brother, you went to play soccer overseas, though. What was that decision? Because you, again, being a successful entrepreneur that we're going to definitely hear more about, at the time, going back to the time, your choice was like, no, I'm not going to go to college. I'm about to go to Germany. Like, were they paying a whole lot over there that we just don't know about? Were you that good in soccer? I wanted you to take us back there into like what went into the decision in that present moment for you to go and play soccer.
Yeah, well, I thought I was really good. Then I went over there and I was like, yeah, I'm not that good. But yeah, and so with that, I mean, my thing was just like, I didn't want to go to college. So I got a good amount of Division I offers, but I didn't want to go. And so I was like, let's go overseas and see how stuff goes. It's like, okay, go there, 3-6 months doesn't work out. I said, what really did
what did you really lose?
Yeah.
Did you go by yourself?
Oh, yeah. I was there by myself for that. So, yeah. It was... I mean, there was pros and cons with it. Overall, it was an enjoyable experience. It's not the best place of living in terms of weather. Not a whole lot of things to do over there. Different culture, but the education, because you can read and hear about socialist, economy and how that works, but then actually seeing it firsthand, that was very eye opening. And then I was in Bonn, Germany, and a lot of people don't know where Bonn is. That's nearby Cologne.
Yeah.
That Bonn was the capital of West Germany, and then. In that area, that was a very popular spot for people to come in, like to study and for tourism. So, they had a lot of refugees, but those were more so like Berlin, Hamburg, like some of the bigger cities on the east.
Okay.
But in Bonn, a lot of the immigrants, they were there for studying or for like to actually work
you had other American friends there?
Did you no really Americans. And one time, some people in my German class, they were Americans. They actually. Came over. It was a lot of Europeans, Middle Easterns, Asians, and then there was very few, North Americans and South Americans that actually came through for the program. But I mean, just getting to be around everyone, talk to them, hear about their culture. I learned a lot about, the Islamic religion. When I was over there, just seeing how things worked in different countries, and just people's perspective, because some people they thought 4-hour drive was far and a long ways to go over in Europe, because that can be 3-4 different countries, but then over here it's like 4 hours that's nothing.
You're just in the same state.
Yeah.
So you got to see the world a little bit. I'm sure that was a form of education in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean you can't learn that type of education, and maybe like in the future with like VR and AR and all that kind of stuff. Right. I mean, that type of education, that's not something that, you can just learn at college in the class unless you study abroad.
Right. That's more than a book. But you were over there for about, 6 months? You said 6 months?
Well, no, I was there for 3 years total.
3 years?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you went over there, you came back, and again, like, I hear your perspective on college education, which I agree with largely. But when you came back, did you have like people looking at you, your classmates, or maybe anybody like, all right, Caleb, what are you going to do now? Like, you didn't make it to the league. I mean, you didn't make it in the league over there. You didn't get the endorsement deals. Like,
I intentionally came back. So like, I was looking for other things to do, and I found the esports opportunities. Like, I'm going to do this. So
before you came, so you came back to do the esports.
Yeah.
All right. So was it a plan? So break that down then. Like, what was sort of the initial plan when you began to start looking towards esports? And even just a step back before that, what was it that was the trigger? Because I know you played video games as a kid. I know you were always a gamer. But what was sort of the trigger that caused you to look at opportunity? And then what was sort of your plan?
So, I knew about esports. I knew everything has like some type of competition. It's like the other day, I saw, I think it was on Instagram, it's like, there's like now tag as a sport.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. But, a lot of sports have blown up. And I knew even if they back then, now it's blown up more because COVID really advanced, but like cornhole, I knew it was a thing. I knew they competition. I knew you could probably make like $100,000 a year, doing it. But, esports I thought was similar to the same thing. I wasn't aware that people were making millions doing that and how like filling up stadiums and all that with this. So I was like, wow, I really, want to get into this industry. I just thought it was really cool and fascinating. So then that's where I was looking for opportunities. I was actually, when I came back, because the seasons work differently here than over in Europe.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I actually wasn't planning on going back to gym. I was like, I'm just going to look to see, play with, a team here in the States.
So you wanted to be an actual esport professional gamer?
No, I was soccer.
Oh, soccer. Okay, you were like, all right, I'll come back and play soccer and still do. So you were trying to do kind of both at the same time?
No, I was just soccer itself. Okay. But then when I was actually back here, I actually found out about the esports opportunity. So then I was like, okay, I'll just go finish out the season. There's only like 4 months left in it. Because it was during break.
Okay.
Yeah,
got you.
It was on like the winter break. So yeah, I was like, I'm going to come back here.
Okay.
And then once I was going to come back here, play in the States. Then once I found the opportunity, I said, I might as well just go back and finish the season. And so I did that. And then I worked, towards the business.
Coming back to start a business. All right. So was the plan ever to be a professional gamer because you were an athlete?
No.
So you never wanted.
At the age of 12, I really looked at it. Well, main thing was if I knew like how big it was going to be, it probably would have. But then I was just like, okay, well, I can choose video games, which won't get me anywhere, or soccer, which can get me somewhere. So then I went with soccer.
That's exactly what the sentiment was when I was growing up. So I'm a little bit older than you, but in the early 90s, I can't tell you how many times I heard from adults, like, get off those video games. There's no future in it for you. What are you going to do? You can't make a living sitting there playing the video games. If they knew, right, that if I just get better at this game, I could be bringing in millions of dollars, man, I tell you. So that's the funny thing about all this. But you were at that age where I guess you got the tail end of that, but then you began to come of age the same time that I would say the industry itself kind of came of age. Would you agree? Sort of the same time?
Yeah, so around 2012 is when it started to progress. That's where you started seeing more prize money. And honestly, it is a bubble that burst. I mean, there was a lot of, it's like everything else, you know, 2001 tech bubble, real estate bubble. Right. I mean, even like the metaverse, Web3, all that, you know, was a bubble. Because really, like, it's whatever the hype is, AI, which we're not hearing so much about it, but that was, the whole hype. And I mean, in a few months, it may have happened this year, probably like early next year. Doesn't be something else that's a new hype that everyone throwing money into. And
but what remains after the burst is actually what matures into actually
Correct. Okay. Yeah, so it's like it explodes and blows up, then it absolutely tanks. It doesn't go as bottom as it originally was, but then it starts to build up from there. And that's really, for our business, because we started off, talk about, pre-COVID, gaming center, what worked. Did not work post-COVID. And so we really had to change. We realized it was K-12 focused and, a lot around education, but still around having fun. So like, education where the kids didn't know that they were actually learning. Yeah. And so, we were doing that very early on. We actually got a lot of backlash from like, I had, some staffers, I got backlash, other, real professionals in the industry was getting backlash from. And then, now that's the thing that everyone's doing, top off on university, in the schools and like a lot of companies that started out about it. We were just very early to the market because I saw and recognized that. And then, I think other organizations as well, like we can't continue this path that we're going. Yeah. There's been a lot of bankruptcies. Like there was one company called Valhalla. They were an esports bar in Houston. They were like the staple, the flagship. Like people talked about it and said they wanted to do something like that. After 4 years, all of a sudden out of nowhere, they announced they were claiming bankruptcy. Wow. And I was like, wait, everyone's like, wait, what's going on here?
But that's the thing that I feel like is really fascinating about all this, because we know that it's a growing market. We know that it's an opportunity there. But at the same time, if you're not smart about your business, you're not going about it the right way, you could be the next person filing bankruptcy. And one of the things about your story that I'm like, man, what was on his mind then? Because I know you started it with your father, right?
Yeah, so he pretty much backed it. And then he does, so at the start, in terms of getting open, he did a good amount. He did a lot of work with that. Yeah. Once we first opened, he didn't do very much.
You were the operator. You were the hands. Yeah.
And then it was really, when doing a lot of like the network and the outreach, that's when we started getting more involved. And then it was just different phases of it. So right now, he's still a little bit involved, but he's involved more so from our 501c3 that we started.
The nonprofit. Yeah. But let me, here's the thing though. So your dad was involved with you, but y'all bought a brick and mortar, or y'all basically opened the brick and mortar in October of 2020.
Yeah.
Now talk about like missteps in business. From my standpoint, and I never ran a brick and mortar. That didn't seem like, and to some people, that may not have seemed like the smartest thing to do. What gave you all the idea of saying, hey, everybody's locked up at home right now, let's go ahead and
Well, the whole process started before.
Okay, so it didn't start okay.
If I knew what I knew now, I mean, I honestly probably would have waited, because even though you would have been paying expenses, it's like, I want to say that the loss was actually, the loss would have been less if we just paid the expenses and didn't, actually open up. But the only thing I could say about that is that we wouldn't have actually gained
the traction, the momentum.
And nor would we be able to figure out what worked. Because if we would have waited till like April to open, we would have gone under the business model. Like even if no COVID at all, when we opened, that model wouldn't have worked. Right. So it was like
the pay to play basically model. Right?
Yeah. So I mean, that's a good revenue stream, but it's not what's gonna pay the bills. I mean, it has to be a wide range of things. So it's like the camps, and then getting field trips from schools, those things that happen during the day, and then like getting other groups that come, like we do, like we have like youth teams, we do a rec league, any other groups say, wait, we want a coding class to come in, things like that, birthday parties on the weekend, plus the open place, really figure out how do we maximize, how do we get someone in a seat every hour of the day? Yeah. That's, really what it's all about.
Yeah. Like I love it because you're getting practical education, again, going back to education. As an entrepreneur, you're trying things. You're being honest even on this podcast, and I appreciate that when you're like, hey, we open. And it probably wasn't the best time to open, but you are able to learn from that, gain traction, and also through that process, sort of iterate your business model without like the public, demand and everything on you. And now you're in a place where you have multiple streams of income and the nonprofit, right?
Correct. Yes.
The nonprofit, what is it called?
That's right now, Triangle Esports Alliance.
Esports Alliance.
Our board actually did vote. We were at me last week. They actually did vote to get like a generic name because we don't want to do with the for-profit. No. Because we were in North Carolina, and then that's going to be changed soon eventually at some point.
Yeah, y'all keep growing.
Yeah. So I'm like, we're just going to do one generic name to have, most likely to keep, and hopefully
take
forever.
Over the world with
yeah,
as a nonprofit. I got some questions I want to ask you from that are kind of fun to get into your gaming knowledge. But before I do that, let me ask you this real quick. Is there any parallels between being a soccer, like a professional athlete, and esports that you identify? What do you feel like is the same, and then what do you feel is different?
So I would say with sports, esports business, and then I even say war, from like talking to people in the military, books about people served in war. I'll say all those four. I had a couple in, but I'll put all those together. So really, with esports, what I really noticed was that my dad and I would talk about stuff like you see the NFL where that is. You see collegiate football, but what you don't see, you may even see high school. You don't see like they call it Pop One, and they're starting out playing football. It's like everyone sees NFL. No one looks at Pop One and says, "I'm gonna make a lot of money," doing this.
Right.
Yeah,
but it still exists. Though.
Yeah, correct. I mean, all the coaches are volunteers, and like the main director, gets paid like a regular wage because that's what they do full time. But it's like you're not making a lot of money, doing that stuff. And so, with the business, with business as well, a lot, of sports, relates to it because everyone needs communication and teamwork.
Teamwork, yeah.
But then with what our business does, because when we think about sports, it's like to put the Super Bowl on. What do you actually see? You see players playing. You see the officials. You see the coaches. You may see the casters at one point. You see the halftime show and everything. But what you don't see are the thousands of people, that put that on, that made that happen. You don't see the concessions. You don't see the staff. You don't talk to like either the Sports Alliance, the Sports Commission, Convention Visitor, whoever worked with the hotels, the airports, putting all that together.
There's just so many more people involved, so many more jobs, and so much more economic activity that's happening around the game.
Correct. Same thing with esports. It's like, to put on an esports event, we'll just take a place like we have. Even if you come to the place, like we did a collegiate tournament last year. So it's like the players show up, everything's run, it's cast or whatever.
Yeah.
In order for that to be put on, someone has to make the game.
Right.
Someone has to make the PCs. Someone has to do the networking. Someone has to provide the internet. They have the server. All of these things. Someone has to provide all the supplies. To build everything. All the electricity, all that goes into it. I've actually even been behind the scenes at some, large esports events and seen all the, moving parts that went on. That's the thing, that people really don't see. That's what we're really pushing with. It's like, will they be a professional gamer? Probably not. Right. And then is anyone going to make, 6 figures or more? Even we'll get one. We may get like one every couple of years. Yeah. Someone that makes it real big and is a big name. Right. One like every 10 years.
Right. But not like the NBA per se. So you're not necessarily looking at it from that standpoint. You're looking at it as, hey, this is still a healthy opportunity. It's still people can get jobs all around the game.
Correct.
There's still advertising opportunities, because that's the other thing too. Like if people are watching anywhere where a bunch of eyeballs are, that's the opportunity to get sponsorships, advertisements, promote products, whatever the case may be. So I do see that similarity as it relates to the models. But let me ask you this, man. I got some like how big of a gamer are you? Like are you like legit?
I was before starting a business.
Oh yeah. Well, listen. Hey, good point, man. Yeah. But like I'm not a gamer anyway, so it's not like I can ask you any like real testing questions. But we do have this segment called This or That, and I'm gonna basically just bring up gaming ideas, consoles, whatever the case may be, and you tell me which one you would prefer and why. Oh. All right. Cool. All right, here we go. This or that. Now, if I say anything that you don't really know about, don't have any experience about, just let me know. We can move to the next one. All right, here we go. Xbox versus PS4.
Xbox.
Why?
I like the way the controller feels on Xbox. Halo is also one of my favorite games, and that's only on Xbox. So.
All right. Xbox, man. All right, cool. All right, so what about open world games versus RPG linear game? Which one?
That's tough. I like both.
You like both?
Yeah. I would say I play more RPG because open world get addictive.
Yeah.
So we'll go with RPG.
RPG. You can manage your time a little bit better.
Correct. Yeah. Right, go on, play a game, be done. Not, 10 more minutes, another 10 minutes, whatever, 3 hours go by, yep.
And you just kind of around in the world, got lost in the world. All right, got you. Interacting with the NPC or playing online?
Playing online.
Playing online? Well, why? What's the great about playing online?
I like playing, against other people, with other people, like the competitive nature of that.
Yeah, camaraderie. Got you. Let's see if you can go back this far. PS1 versus Nintendo 64. Have you played those?
That was before my time.
All right. Thanks for making me feel old. He made me feel old, y'all, because I definitely had a PS1. My cousin had a
I'm 25.
N64. Hey, that's before your time.
Yeah.
So you came in. What was the first console you remember?
Nintendo DS.
Really?
That's my first one. I think I got the Xbox 360 when I was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
I had a Wii before that. But,
okay. Wii. All right. Got you. All right. Cool. Well, all right. Let's keep it going. All right. I want you to answer this question, right? When it comes to watching a 5-hour live stream of a play or playing through a game for 5 hours, which one do you feel is better for you?
Like watching a game?
Watching someone play or playing it yourself?
Depends on the game. I actually really like watching people play. I think depending on the person.
Yeah.
Depending on the person, depending on the game. But overall, actually, I really enjoy watching.
Yeah. No, it's crazy because when I was young, I told this story when I do some of my talks, but I had no choice but to watch when I would go to my cousin's house and I would play and I would lose. I would die instantly. And then they would play because they were better. It was their game. I literally was like watching them play and I didn't realize that hey, I was getting used to this, watching people play until they got to the point to where I enjoy watching them play way more than playing myself because they were better than me and they knew how to do stuff that I couldn't do. So no, that's actually pretty cool. All right, let's alter this really quick. I'm gonna alter this. I want you to tell me, pass or fail. All right. And this is a statement. These are some I don't know, controversial misconceptions maybe in some cases about video games. Video games lead to social isolation.
Fail.
Why would you say fail?
Because studies actually prove that video games are healthy and lead to more socialization, especially when done the right way. When you talk about schools getting into local parks, that's because of all the programs we run in person with other people there. So that's actually kids socializing. Today during camp, doing a Minecraft lesson, working together on their Minecraft, build. So
yeah.
They lead to socialization.
Got it. Video games are desensitizing.
What does that mean?
So, if I'm watching violence happen a lot, I can lose my sensitivity to the violence that's taking place on the video game if it happens in real life, just from the nature of playing it very much.
Fail.
Yeah. You don't really see anything like that?
I don't see how that could be true. I mean, it's like watching a movie. Some of the movies, I don't see how you could watch that and then just think,
oh, there's nothing wrong with this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, I know young kids may not be able to know the difference, but obviously that's where their ratings. But I wouldn't think.
So here's one more thing too, and this is another kind of controversial hot topic too. When you play these games online and you're online and people are talking, it can be said it's a hotbed for, sexism, racism, a lot of just harmful or negative comments that happen online. Is there any truth to that? And what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think it's just video games. I think it's any, time you're online and, something like that. I mean, happens in person as well. People are less likely to do it in person. It's not just a video game that makes people, be like
so
that.
It's not a game. It's just the fact that there are bad people out there.
Yeah, correct.
And then you think that being online and not being able to show your face kind of encourages some of that darker parts of people to come out. Is that kind of it? Like you said, you see it in the comments sometimes. You see it in.
I think those people just like that.
Yeah.
I mean, a person that's scared and insecure, they would never say anything. But it's I don't think like me personally, I have no issue being straight up with somebody. If I think something stupid, I'll just straight up say it. Yeah. So I'm not gonna go in there, bully, harass somebody online or anything.
Yeah.
So I would say all these stereotypes, and there's very small, select, specific group of people that give it that bad rep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really, I mean, it's if we all of a sudden there was orange people that came to live or green people, and then there's 10,000 of them, and one of the green people goes and on a whole massacre and kills 40 people, and then everyone's like, oh, those green people are violent. It's no, one out of the 10,000 wouldn't commit all these crimes, but because of that, that's all that we know.
It just taints the view of the collective.
Correct.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you spoke on that, man, because that is something that these last things that I mentioned, these are things that do come up. And I know the podcast just got a little heavy really quick, but I was interested in hearing your thoughts on that. And I think it's important for you to be a person in the industry to speak on that. So that was heavy. Let's back things up a little bit really quick. Get into kind of the latter parts of this interview. Man, you started with your dad, right? And you told me about the roles that he played and the role you played. What advice can you give to someone as it relates to like what qualities to look for in a business partner?
So I know I just finished a book. It's called Shut Up and Listen by Tillman Ferrer. most people haven't heard of him, but he actually owns like 5 hotel casinos. He owns the Houston Rockets and like 400 restaurants, maybe more than that, maybe 4,000. I'm trying to remember how many. Yeah. But he was talking about business partner. He said, you look for people that are opposites. You look for people different than you. Like the 2 staff members I have, they're never people that I would meet. It's like, oh yeah, you want to hang out someday? Like, we have different qualities and traits and stuff like that. Now, staffing-wise, they are great different animals, but it's because we're all so different and serve different roles of the business, have different personalities. That's what allows us, to do extremely well. Right. I mean, they are both absolutely phenomenal. I love having them both on. And so that's the thing, don't look for someone, unless you plan on retiring and looking for a replacement, you don't want to look for someone like you because, the thing is, somebody that, like if you're a real techie and create stuff and everything, but don't understand the business side. You don't want somebody else that could come on and is techie and creative. You want someone that could come on and really help with the business. Yeah. So that's why some of the most successful businesses I've seen, all of them have a co-founder, and then really successful, the ones I've been seeing recently, there's usually been 3 co-founders within the business. And
they're all different.
Yeah, correct. And so, you have your CEO who's usually getting the publicity and everything like that. You don't know about the 2 other people, but, they're really key and important within the business as well. Right. And so I like Formula One. And it's and obviously there's a driver when the pit crew comes in, right? How fast those go through. Everyone has a different job. And it's like during the pit crew, I don't view any job as,
less than the other, right? Like somebody got to bring the tire and somebody got to screw on the bolts and everything. Like you can't have, if one of those are missing, the whole thing kind of falls down.
And so it's like, I don't want the person that's supposed to carry the tire to be as good as me at, drilling. Because I'm like, that's not I love it. What they do. Yeah. So essentially that's the same thing. Now that's how it works extremely efficient. Like you find, different people for the different roles that go in.
That complement you. That's correct. Good. That's good. Hope y'all taking note of this. All right. Brother, one of the things I like to do is go to Barnes & Nobles and I just kind of like look at books and magazines. And I remember getting the Forbes magazine this year. Yeah. And I put it off and they had the official Forbes 30 under 30. And under the education category, I saw my good friend, Caleb Smith. Congratulations on that. And how did you get on that list?
Oh, thanks. I actually need to get myself one of those magazines.
You need to get one, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was, it was I was surprised. Like a lot of people really are surprised about that. And one thing, I see, if somebody else, they're usually, I'm 25, so when I say younger than me, they're usually like 20 to 23 years old. But I know they're putting so much focus. Like, one person yesterday, she's like, oh, my goal is to be on the Forbes under 30. Another friend I have, he said, like, he wants to get on the Forbes under 30. I'm just like, trust me, I'm like, guys, the fastest way to not get on the Forbes under 30 is to actually make you your goal. Because then you're going to make your business decisions around what's going to get you on the Forbes under 30. Listen. I said, me and my business, and all the promotion, everything we did, all, the press we got, I said, all that was around growing the business. Right. And I said, and then the awards just happened to come with what we had done with the business. Right. And then, the Forbes, I said, at the time of applying, we'd been in business less than 2 years. So all the, press we got, all the awards that, we won, at the time of application, it's like, all of that fed into it. But the thing is, I said, if your business was doing $10 million a year in profits, would you care if you won Forbes? I said, like, no. I'm like, okay.
It should be a stepping stone.
Yeah. And so that's the thing I said. Awards are something that's applied for, but it should not be your goal to actually, when you have a greater purpose, vision for the business. Obviously it's great that I was recognized for that. We are doing something very unique and special and innovative. So it's great to see that. But, I would not just be like, oh, this is so super. Right. Wait, I don't need to get the magazine. I got the, what was it called? Frame.
You got a frame. Well, listen, man, I know you're only just beginning right now. And the cool thing is that, man, we have an opportunity to partner. That's right. We got an opportunity to partner. You and I, STEMedia, Triangle, or North Carolina Esports are partnering to put on the Game Changers Tech Challenge, a hackathon event. And we got to make sure y'all know about this. This is happening on November the 12th. That's right. That's right. We're going to be putting this on. It's going to be presented. It's going to be hosted by my good friend Caleb and the good folks over at the North Carolina Esports. Now, here's the thing about that, man. it's going to be an opportunity to introduce some people to the world of tech and coding, right?
Correct.
All right. Why did you think this is a great event? Let people know a little bit.
My thing is all about exposure. People are like, sports are a little bit different because it's a younger age, but at 12 years old, I knew I wanted to be a pro soccer player.
Yeah.
But when most things like people's careers, say 18 to 30 years old, when you really have to figure. So I said people start their business in the 40s, 50s, do really well, and so you don't have to know. I feel like it's kind of bad at 18 years old, they're like, oh, you have to go to college. You have to know what
you got to know your entire life. Yeah. Well, that's why we're doing it, Kayla. We want to let people know, hey, if y'all are interested in participating in this, go to STEMedia.com/tech-challenge, or you can go to STEMedia.com/hackathon. Both of them get you there. And you can register between the ages of 14 to 24. We're going to be at the Techincal Esports Academy or the North Carolina Esports Academy. I'm getting it. The name change is recent. All right. Yeah. We're going to be at the Academy and we're going to be introducing you. We're going to challenge you to build your best educational game for a chance to win cash prizes. That's right. So make sure you go sign up and you're going to see the two of us there. We're going to be doing it, right, Caleb? We're going to be there supporting.
That's right.
Yep. So with that being said, we want to wrap this up, man. This has been a great conversation. Can you please look at the camera and conclude with some parting words of wisdom? And here's what we want you to do, all right? You got the camera. You can look at. One, we want you to say, if you went back in time and you were able to talk to your younger self, let's say right before high school ended, what would you say? Just a really quick 10-second word of advice to yourself, younger self. And then what would you say to the future Caleb? I'm talking about 5-10 years from now, who has achieved much more than you've achieved now. Give us those parting words of wisdom, about 10 seconds each, right to the camera.
Be patient, really focus in, don't get distracted. And, when you find something, stick with it. Maintain the laser beam focus. If you're going to, I know boredom is a real thing, so I would recommend finding a hobby or some other activity outside of the business. Don't try to use the business to create some hobby to keep you entertained or anything. Really focus in, what you're doing. Don't spread yourself too thin. That would be, a good piece of advice. To
your younger self. That's what you say. Now, what would you say to the future Caleb? What would you say to the future Caleb? If you watch this 5-10 years from now, what would you say to that Caleb?
Just keep on what you're doing, and that's all I'd really to say to myself about it.
Keep on what you're doing. Hey, listen, that's what I have to say to you today, Caleb. Thank you so much for coming on Technical Creative. Thank you for partnering with us for the Game Changers event. Of course, we're going to chat more off camera, but we'll see you later, man.
Absolutely.
All right.